Hi, Zoran. Oh, wait, no. 2D RNA. Hi, 2D RNA. How's it going? It's going good. How are you? Me first. Yo, good morning. How are you doing? I'm doing all right. How are you? Are you on Twitch? Where can I find your stream? I'm on Twitch and YouTube. What game is this? Looks cozy. We're gonna be talking about Warhammer today. More Warhammer. Hi, Jock. So, Discord did a vote. They did a vote, like, last night. Out of 53 people, 26 voted for Teach Us 40K Armies. So, I'm gonna be doing an education. Dr. N.A. Ah, Dr. N.A. Thank you. I finished painting my Tyranid set yesterday. Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna teach you all how to play 40K, but for now, we're just gonna wait for more people to slide on in. Slide on in. And in the meantime, I'll just talk to all of you and just get a feel for how things are going. Also, the Space Marine 2 review is done. It's just waiting to be uploaded to Patreon, which I will do after the stream. Hi. Hi. Yo, big boss. Don't go off now and getting my last will and testament wrong. Hello. Or call me nah. Okay. Hello. It's just stream free music because I don't want to risk the wrath of copyright gods. And quick question: what is a brief description of a chapter master and where they are in the Legion? So a chapter master is supposed to be like the highest ranking guy within Space Marine chapter. They are the end all be all guy of that chapter. They are the leader. They are the representative. So on and so forth. That is their rank. If you have a Primarch within your chapter, like Gullyman or Lionel Johnson, you are the second in command. The Primarch is always the first. When did you get into 40K? I got into 40K in 2008. I was playing 8th edition. Not 8th edition. 5th edition. Fuck. There. But today we'll be teaching 10th edition stuff. Is there any Primarch that can get demoted? I don't know. Do you count being disappeared demoted? Thank you for your primer on the Tau. I really appreciate it. I love your basic series. You're welcome. Start with the Black Reach box set. Yeah, baby. Good box. 2 squads of 20, a war boss, 3 fucking death copters. Hell yeah. I saw a creator on TikTok talking about the Emperor plan. His point is if he could see in the future, he knew everything. He knew that whoever he puts as War Master would... He did not know that. The reason being is because when Magnus tried to warn the Emperor didn't fucking believe him. That creator is lying. The Emperor is not all-knowing and powerful as people think he is. And he didn't look into the future because he knew that shit would end badly. And it already did. Starting in 2nd edition. Nice. The Emperor stinky. Well, I mean, he's a rotting corpse, so... I mean, yeah. And that Magnus straight up broke the shield, then went, never mind, never even delivered his message. How goes it, boss? Hope all is well. All is well. But yeah, no, the Emperor didn't know shit. Until, like, the Eisenstein came and Rogaldorn reported directly. I was barely a year old when 8th edition was a thing. 8th edition is not that old. (2017). I started in 5th edition. That's 2008. I messed up my wording. That's on me. 5th edition was back. 5th edition was the one I started in 2008. So what's the major difference in armor generation for Space Marines? Oh, there's massive. There's a big difference in armor, like in the improved armor. Space Marine 2 today? No, we're gonna be learning 40k armies. Because that's what my Discord voted on. And I'm gonna remind them. Y'all voted to learn armies. Get in here. Hi, hope you're doing well. We're doing good. We're doing good. I'm teaching 40k armies today. Just waiting for a little bit more people to let on in. Should probably open up a Google Doc so that way alrighty. Hey, boss, I'm here during class. Why? Focus on class! What was your first army? Orcs and Khorne Demons for me. My first box was the Black Reach box, so it was Orcs and Space Marines. I don't think I, well, ever truly know just how much the Emperor did or did not know. He knew a lot, but he didn't know a lot. Have you played Space Marine 2 on stream? Yes, we'll be playing more this weekend. I think they were in a constant state of war, so couldn't progress weaponry. I can't remember the Legion. What? Where am I looking? I'm lost. Where did you type something else? Twice the learning. What's your favorite faction? Thousand Suns! Give me my mages. First book I read was Brothers of the Iron Snake by Dan Abnett. It's still a solid book. Finally, a non-toxic live. What do you mean, a non-toxic live? If the Emperor is right now, a Chaos God, and he can communicate with other people, doesn't he tell people how to make another gold? He did not make the Golden Throne. So, this was new information brought in Master of Mankind, a book from 2016. The Emperor did not make the Golden Throne. He found it. And it took the shape of a golden throne. No, we don't know what it was made for. That's the thing. The Emperor found it and was like, "Can it be a battery?" And it became a battery. It just did it in the shape of a golden throne. It's complicated shit, and we're not talking about that today. What's your favorite Xenos? You know the answer. They scream real loud, and they're funny. They're just funny little lads. Okay, but We are here for a reason today. My FYP gives me all the horrible people's lives. I found one that isn't people being horrible. Ah, that's fair. But today, I am teaching you how 40k armies play. And I'm going to be using the Games Workshop store as well to basically punctuate how all these armies are going to work. Those weren't the types of Xenos you were talking about yesterday. Listen here, Dollarts. Listen here, Dollarts. We all want a Drukari girlfriend. None of us are brave enough to have one. I'll be honest, it'll be a little confusing. It's set in 30k. Just find a chair and enjoy the lecture, and welcome to the grimdark future. Yes! Welcome! Welcome, welcome, welcome! Just gonna turn the music down a little bit. There we go. Alright, a man can really help himself think out here. Anyway! Can any Slaanesh army use sonic weapons or only Emperor's Children? Any army can include Noise Marines for Chaos Space Marines. Demons of Slaanesh can include Noise Marines and Lucius the Eternal. But if you're taking like Tzeentch Demons or Thousand Suns, you cannot include Noise Marines. Yes, you can make the argument that the Emperor is a glorified himbo. How we doing? Just came over from TikTok. We're doing great. Let us start the lesson. Just to let you all know, this is for the tabletop game, Warhammer 40k. We are talking about 10th edition. So if you are interested in learning that, or at least knowing what the fuck your friend is talking about, welcome, welcome. Gonna need a lot of water for this. So, the main army that you will be seeing a lot of in Warhammer 40k. The main army. You know them, you love them, or you don't. You fucking hate them in some instances. The Space Marines coming in flavors of Vanilla, Templar, Vampire, Paranoid Green Man, Pure Grey Knight, Furry. The Space Marines are your most generic army you are going to see on the table. They are a jack-of-all-trades army. Good at everything, masters of nothing. They have solid stats all throughout their units. A consistent 4-up toughness. When you are playing 40k, you will be seeing stat sheets like this. These are the average stats of a Space Marine. The average. Even though this is a Stern Guard, I should probably find intercessors. These are the average stats of a Space Marine. 6 movement, 4 toughness, 3+ save, 2 wounds, 6-up leadership, and objective secure 2. Or 1. They never go higher than 3. It's changed a lot, I'll be honest. A lot more new rules. Yeah, no, they flipped the rules again. He said furry! So, when you are playing Marines, you are playing a literal middle-of-the-road faction. They are good at everything. You want them to be assault Marines? You want them to be close combat specific? You can do that. You want them to be a ranged army? You can do that. You want a mix of both? You can do that. You want stealth? They can do that. They won't be better than other armies in it, but they are competent enough to get the job done. That is Marines. And of course, if you want to flavor yourself more to specific tactics, i.e., I want to be able to swarm the field but have decent toughness, Black Templars. I want to be the scariest fucking assault army in the game, Blood Angels. I want to be a good mix of everything from range to melee, Dark Angels. You want to be a good mix of beast, cavalry, and melee, Space Wolves. Does each chapter have different stats? All Space Marine chapters, all of them, regardless if they're Blood Angel, Dark Angel, Black Templar, Space Wolf, Ultramarine, doesn't matter. All Space Marines use the same models except for a few specific ones, as they have been labeled here. Essentially, if you're choosing a different chapter, you're just getting a few extra units along with the vanilla. So, like, I want to take Dark Angels. You get access to all of the vanilla Space Marine stuff, but you also get access to all of the Dark Angels characters at the cost of not being able to access any other characters, along with the Dark Angel special Terminators, special bike units, and special character units, like Interrogator Chaplains. That's the difference. How do Salamanders play? Well, if I could get back to the rules. Space Marines! So, 10th edition has done away with specific army abilities. Back in the day, you would pick a chapter and basically just say like, oh, I'm playing Salamanders, so I'm using the Salamanders tactics. No more of that. You don't need that anymore. All Space Marines share this rule. Oath of Moment. Basically, during the beginning step of your turn, called the command phase, you pick one unit on your opponent's side of the field or army, and you tell them, I'ma kill you. Every model in your army, all of them, get to reroll hit rolls against that target. Now, it specifically says you can reroll the hit roll. It does not say fail. So if you want to be able to, get a few extra crits in, you could reroll those dice. But basically, your guys have dedicated themselves to killing that target over there. You are now going to dedicate everything to try and kill that target. Then, this is what all Marines in the Vanilla Codex get. Yeah. Blood Angels and Dark Angels have something different. But in the Vanilla Space Marine book, you also get special detachments. These detachments basically tell you how your army fights and the special ability that they get. So, for example, if you want to play a Salamanders-themed army, where is it? Firestorm Assault Force. Since Salamanders focus on flamethrower and melta weaponry in their fluff, if you want to play a very fluffy Salamanders army, you would use the Firestorm Assault Force. So, in addition to your Oath of Moment, you also get ranged weapons equipped by Space Marine models from your army, have the Assault ability, which means that if your units choose to run in their turn, so basically like in D&D terms, if you're choosing to double action sprint, you can still attack. And each time you are within 12 inches of an enemy unit, you get to add one of the strength characteristics of that attack. Which chapter is the most xenophobic? Black Templars, probably. They're all pretty racist. But yeah, you also get different enhancements, which are just upgrades to your characters, and 6 unique stratagems that are for this detachment and this detachment only. All of the Space Marine stuff is very generic. Like, we literally have... But, like, it's supposed to be that way, so that way, when you make your own chapter, it's, oh, we prefer these kinds of tactics, or we prefer these kinds of tactics. And they do say that, like, they do show pictures in the codex for, like, which chapters prefer which tactics. So, like, for the Gladius Task Force, since it's doctrines for, like, Devastator Tactical Assault, it's Ultramarines. But then you got, like, the Anvil Siege Force, which is Imperial Fists. The Iron Storm Spearhead, which is vehicles. Iron Hands, etc., etc., etc. Now, doesn't matter what chapter you play. All of them can take those detachments. It's just that right now, Blood Angels, Dark Angels, Black Templars, and Space Wolves have their own unique detachments that you can take instead of those ones. Each chapter's codex explains their pertinent lore and their tactics, correct? Correct. Now, in your codex, you will find point values. When you are building an army, you and your opponent agree to a point total. Space Marines, if I can find them here. Space Marines, as I said, are jack of all trades. Their units are pretty expensive, but also pretty balanced. So, like, you won't be swarming the field, but you won't be screwed on numbers either. Your army, Space Marines have consistent stats, hence why they have such high point costs compared to other armies. You are essentially paying for middle of the road, we're good at everything. You could argue Firestorm detachment was made for salamanders. But yeah, so if you choose Space Marines as your army, you are choosing an army that is very easy to learn, very easy to master. Essentially, like, they're the poster boys of 40k. What do you want from me? You can build them however you want. You want a biker army, you can do it. You want a flamethrower army, you can do it. But for those of the more competitive mindset, building your army fluff-wise is not a good competitive strategy. And when you are building an army, essentially you want your army to synergize together, i.e., what is a unit doing for the army, and what is the army doing for that unit? And then, how effective is that unit going to be on the board? Charts! Charts are going to be your best friend. If you're going into competitive. But if you're just wanting to play the game, this is what this stream is for. So, you're probably looking at the Grey Knights here and thinking, oh, are they like vanilla like everyone else? No. Grey Knights are not vanilla. They are their own distinct fighting force. They're basically super Space Marines. Much better than their regular Astartes counterparts. By a wide fucking mile. Do I play Magic the Gathering? Sometimes, not all the time. Have I played in competitive settings before? Yes, I have. So, Grey Knights. Right now, Grey Knights do not have their own book. Instead, they have a free download on Warhammer Community. Right here. Until they get their codex, this is what their stuff looks like. It is a 62-page document containing all their stats, their army rule, and the one detachment that they get. The one. What about Custodes? Custodes have their book out right now. And if an army has their book out, they get an FAQ. Which basically is just clearing up some confusion around words. So, Grey Knights. Going back up here. Grey Knights are much more expensive Space Marines. They hit harder, they're way better at melee, and they have way better shooting. Which, they're demon hunters, they're supposed to be better. I mean, that'd be a good April Fool's joke. But yeah, Grey Knights. Their special ability is that depending on the game size, you are allowed to teleport a unit every turn. So basically, you take the unit off the board, and then you can set them up somewhere else on the board. More than 9 inches away from an enemy unit. By the way, we measure in inches. This is a manual for the tabletop? Yes! This is a manual for specific army in the tabletop. So that's their idea, is that Grey Knights are teleporting all over the board. This helps make up for their lack of numbers, and it helps make up for their lack of mobility. Hi, Mish. But yeah, Grey Knights, their special thing right now, their detachment rule is teleport shunt. They do not have to roll when they're making an advance, they just move that distance. Basically, they're just like, they're doing like a Goku instant transmission, going from one spot to another. Question, can I use Stern Guard veterans for Blood Angels? That's actually a good question. I can check that right now. That's a cute pug. I can check that right now. Sorry, it's taking a minute to load. Sons of Sanguinius. Yep, they do not restrict you. You can take Stern Guard veterans and Blood Angels. Some armies will restrict you on units that you can bring. Hey, are you feeling okay? I noticed that you're clearing your throat a lot. I just haven't been drinking enough water today. So yeah, your average Grey Knight, if I can find their regular strike squad, way better than Marines. Yeah, like their stats look similar until you get to that 2+ save. And then you look at their weapons, much better than regular Marines on all fronts. Is the Orc Combat Control a good starting box for getting into Warhammer? If you want to know it's a good box, look at all the units within the box, and then find their counterparts within the store, and then price compare. If the price of the models goes over the box, it's a good deal. If it's equal to, it's not a good deal. If it's less than the price they're asking for, it's bad. But yeah, Grey Knights, they are good at melee, they are good at shooting, they are just better Space Marines. But for getting better Space Marines, you are taking a hit on points. Because since they're better, they're more expensive. The one thing you need to learn about 40k is that the more quality an army has, the more expensive its units are. So the better your unit, the more expensive they become. The worse your unit is, the cheaper they become. But just because a unit is worse does not mean it's a bad unit. And just because a unit is way better does not mean it's a good unit either. Does it matter if I put hammers versus swords on my Grey Knight Terminators? No. Right now it doesn't, because for some stupid reason, GW lumped all the Nemesis weapons, so all their close combat weapons, into one stat sheet. So it doesn't matter if it's a sword, a hammer, a glaive, twin swords. They all use the same stats. It's weird. And they fight demons. How are they not crazy? Because they have the Emperor's gene seed in them. Are you able to tell us about the Scythe faction? They're just Space Marines. We're not talking lore today, we're talking game. We're not talking fluff today. We're talking game. But yeah, that's Grey Knights. And people are going to be asking about, what about Death Watch? Death Watch, sadly, are no longer their own individual army. Death Watch are sadly no longer their own individual army, which is actually really good for them. Because they were a very confused specialist army. They got lumped in with forces of the Inquisition. I do not know how the Inquisition play, because that book is really, really new. I will get back to you on that one. What is Warhammer Legends? They are units that, they're units that people might still own from older editions, but were not given rule sets within, modern 40k. So, like, they're not in the codexes. You have to download a special PDF, which I'll show you here. So, if you want your Legends units, you have to go here. These are units that you use for fun, not units that you use in competitive games. How do I know what faction to choose if I'm just starting? Well, that's why we're going over everything today. So, if you want a generic all-rounder army, Space Marines are your boys. If you want some more specifics, like, I want to focus more on close combat, but still have their good stats, Blood Angels, Black Templars, I want to have, like, a good mix of all their stuff. Dark Angels, I want to have some more unique stuff, like Wolves, Space Wolves. And then for, I want specialer, cooler Space Marines. Grey Knights. Grey Knights. But yeah, that's Space Marines. All of them. By the way, if you want to run the Loyalist Primarchs like Robu Gulliman and Lionel Johnson, you will need to play factions like Ultramarines and Dark Angels to get access to them. So, that's Marines. The generic all-rounder army, good stats, fair point costs because you're getting quality over quantity. Can you go over Sisters of Battle? Yes, don't worry, we'll get there. We were just actually going to jump over to the Imperium. We're going to do these in order, too. We're going to do these in order. Sisters of Battle. Speaking of... Hey, I've been interested in lore but never looked into the game, but do you eventually want to have you checked out Chaos Space Marines? Yes, we will be checking them out today. I'm going over all of them, don't worry. Sisters of Battle are best described as a middle ground between the Imperial Guard and Space Marines. They have the armor and weapons of Space Marines, the numbers of the Imperial Guard, but they lack the versatility of the Space Marines, and they lack they lack the versatility of the Imperial Guard and lack the strength and toughness of the Marines. So when you are playing Sisters of Battle, you are playing a really weird middle ground. And a lot of people will look at that and go, then why would I play Sisters? I'll just play Guard and Space Marines. Because Sisters of Battle are a very unique mid to close range glass cannon army. They want to get in as close as possible and burn everything. And then whatever survived, they chop it down. Their entire strategy relies on them being extremely aggressive. They are one of the most aggressive armies in the game. And it's actually quite shocking how, like, devastating they can be. Like, they can be scarier than Blood Angels sometimes. Do I have a favorite Legion and Primarch? Loyalist is Ultramarine and Gulliman. And for Traders, it's Thousand Sons and Magnus. The Sisters of Battle, unique army ability. If I can find my thing.
One debt to society
is Acts of Faith. So each time, at the start of your turn, and each time one of your sister's units is destroyed, you get 1 miracle dice. Oh no, what is this one die gonna do? Well, you roll the dice, and then you get to store it for later. This is called your faith pool. Then, during any time during your turn, you can replace one or more dice with the miracle pool dice. So say we have a, start of our turn, we roll a 6. Okay, we pocket that 6 for later. So then during the turn, one of my melta-guns manages to hurt an enemy vehicle, and my opponent fails to save it, but oh no, we rolled a 1. Oh no, the damage is shitty. It's garbage, it's trash. We look to the faith pool. We grab that 6, kick that 1 out to the curb. It's now 6. We just did a solid 6 damage. Now, to a lot of people, that goes like, what? That doesn't seem that good. But you got to remember that 40k is a game of chance. It is a game of dice rolls. The more you can mitigate the chance factor, the better you are doing. It is best said that the less you are rolling, the better. So with the Sisters of Battle special ability, it gives you a safety net against bad rolls. Is there a Sister of Battle order you favor more than the other? Not really. To be really fair, a lot of Sisters of Battle's armies kind of just blend together. It's just like, do you prefer fire, melta, or hacking someone to death? But yeah, like, they too also have their own detachments, because their codex is out right now. Oh, and I will be buying it soon. So I really want to go over that. But yeah, like, Sisters of Battle, just Space Marines that are a bit, you know, on the lighter side. Like Guardsmen given power armor, because they are just regular people at the end of the day. Your main unit is going to be your Battle Sister squad. And the really cool thing is about Sisters of Battle, a lot of their units get an additional save. So say like, someone hits your sister with a gun that takes away their entire save. So like they're hit with an AP3 weapon. You can't save. Well, Sisters, most of their units get an invulnerable save. Yes, it's a 6+, it's a 1 in 6 chance, but a chance to roll is better than no chance. A chance to save is the difference between having a model and not having a model. And Sisters, you won't be seeing like las cannons, you won't be seeing like a lot of really good artillery, but you will be seeing tons of consistent firepower. Tons of bolters, tons of meltas, tons of flamethrowers. You want to be close. The cherubs they use, are they in the game? Yes, actually. So a unit in the Sisters of Battle does make use of them. Where are they? Where are they? Is it the Mortifiers? No, it can't be the Mortifiers. No, it's not that one. Shit. Sorry, I'm trying to find it. Penitent Engine, Repentia Squad, Retributor Squad. Is it Retributor? Yeah, Cherubs. Twice per battle after this unit has performed an act of faith, you gain 1 miracle dice. Yeah, they actually have an effect. They're tokens, so they don't affect your sisters. But so long as they are on the field, they refund you miracle dice that you spent. Sorry, I didn't mean to spring that on you. Got excited. Don't worry, don't worry. I'm happy to talk about this. So yeah, Sisters of Battle, very much. They're not tough. They can't take a hit. They do have better armor than the Imperial Guard, but they're just as frail as them. So, like, it doesn't matter if they have a 3-up save. They're still getting hurt very easily. The difference is, I'm going to burn you the fuck out by swarming the field and driving everyone up as close as possible. That is their strategy. They want to just get in and burn everything as fast as possible. And their acts of faith help them do that. Next up, we have the Custodes. Ooh, boy. Man, I love that these guys were not controversial at all. That these beautiful lads and lasses of the Emperor didn't cause any problems. And that people weren't fucking weird about it. Custodes are the quality over quantity army. They are better at everything than everyone. Their units have amazing stats. Like, here, I'll find just one of their squads. The Custodian Guard, their baseline unit. To get these kinds of stats, you have to be an elite unit in another army. Your elite unit is their basic infantry. The downside of playing Custodes, the downside of them, you are single-handedly the smallest army in the game, only beating out knights barely. Your units are extremely small. You have like 5-man teams at max. Yeah, the points. But again, you're getting these kinds of stats. You're getting extremely tough models. You're getting extremely hard-hitting models. Yes, you are not big. Board control is not your game. But they are extremely easy to learn. They are hard to master. Just because they're amazing at everything, yes, it makes them really easy to play, and it makes them very survivable compared to other armies. But, again, when you're facing an army that has 120 models and that board control, it really becomes a pain in the ass for you to try and secure board. But your army rule is Martial Kata. Each time a unit from your army with this ability is selected to fight, so during the main combat phase of the game, where everybody's in melee combat, you get to choose one of two stances. You either get sustained hits, which is on a hit roll of 6, it generates an additional hit, or lethal hits. On a hit roll of a 6, you do not roll to wound, that weapon wounds at the bare minimum it needed. But you cannot proc other, you cannot proc any kind of crit that you would make during a wound. So you either take the automatic wound, or you try to go for the crit with the wound. It's kind of the risk versus reward there. How do vehicles and tanks work? Okay, yeah. Quick thing about vehicles and tanks. Where are you? Venerable Land Raider. In 40k, they work the same as infantry. They have a toughness, they have a movement, they have an armor save, they have wounds, everything. Vehicles are just way bigger infantry models at the end of the day. But they do have a few things. One, they can explode. So basically when the vehicle dies, you roll a d6. On a roll of a 6, it explodes. And then everything within 6 inches takes d6 mortal wounds. Deadly demise varies from vehicle to vehicle. As well, over the course of a battle, and this applies to monsters too, including Primarchs, when they are reduced down to when they have a damaged, when they are reduced down to those wounds or lesser, they subtract 1 from the hit roll. It's going great, Angry Apothecary. That's how those work. So if you hit on 2s normally for the Land Raider for the Custodes, and it's brought down to 5 or less wounds, you will be taking -1 to hit. So you'll be hitting on 3s instead. Are there Titans in the game? There are, but they're meant for much larger games. Mostly fluff on tabletop, but if you look at their stats and gear, great against chaos. So yeah, they also have their own book out. They are considered to be one of the weakest armies in 40k right now. It's understandable, though, because they broke last edition in half. Like, Custodes were one of the top 3 armies in 40k back in 9th edition, and they needed to be hit in the knees. I don't think they need to be hit this hard as they got hit, but, like, they needed a hit. Yes, Alex, I actually have, and I've done it myself. What's the largest point game that is legally allowed? How high you want to go? How high you want to go? How high you want to go? Because we call those apocalypse games. We've had games go up to 100,000 points. Never heard of a 1,000,000 point game, but you can do it. Don't know why you would. Basically, if you're going above, if you're going into apocalypse games, you're giving up a whole day or you're giving up a weekend. If you're going like that high in points cost for armies, you are giving up a weekend of your day. You're giving up your weekend to 40k. Have we gone over at Necrons yet? Nope, we're going over Imperials, but we just finished Custodes. We'll be jumping into Adeptus Mechanicus, who also have their own book out right now. Get a gigantic playmat that takes up a room and use it for a map. We do have play maps that you can buy. 1 mil game, 1 eternity later. My baby Custodes are great, stacking bodies, but board control, Okay, so for our more fantasy lovers out there, the Mechanicus are compared to the undead. They are very much a necromantic army in a sense. You have like your necromancers that improve your units, which are just your tech priests. It is the best way to explain this army in a way that fundamentally everyone will understand. So you have Doctrina Imperatives. Your ranged weapons, if you choose, depending on which one you choose, you either get heavy or assault. I told you about assault, but heavy, if your unit chooses to hold still, they improve their ballistic skill by 1. But this imperative already does that for you. You cannot stack a buff or a debuff more than once. What does it say here? Each time melee attack targets this unit, if this unit has a battle line keyword, it is 6. Basically, if you choose Protector Imperative, if your units are in combat and they are right beside like a Skitarii unit or a Skitarii Vanguard unit, the enemy gets -1 to hit in melee combat. Conqueror Imperative. Each time one of your units makes an attack, you improve the armor penetration of that attack by 1 if they're right beside a battle line unit. So, to best explain your army, you are much more advanced Imperial Guard. Your army wants to be synergizing together, just like Imperial Guard, but you have better guns than the Imperial Guard, and you have better aura abilities and buffs than the Imperial Guard. That is the best way to explain these guys. Your guns are better. Your infantry is slightly better. Not by much, but if I had to choose between a Skitarii Ranger and a Guardsman, I'm choosing the Ranger. Would you ever stream a game of 40k? I figure the camera angles would be hard, but could be fun. I do want to. It's just finding people who want to spend 2 to 3 hours doing it. Love this army, but would never paint them. Word of advice, if you're painting Mechanicus or any complicated army, paint as you build. So as you're building the model, paint it. Like, paint the individual pieces. I promise it'll look good. But yeah, Mechanicus, they're good. They are better than Guard in a lot of ways. But, like I said, if they're better than one faction, they're going to cost a little bit more than that faction. So, where like a Guardsman unit's like 50 points, your guys are costing just a little bit extra because you're getting better guns, better armor, and better abilities. And again, where is everything? And again, Mechanicus also have their codex out right now, so they have their own detachments. And no, I do not know their detachments. I'm sorry. All right. Astra Militarum, or the Imperial Guard, the hammer of the Emperor, and just the average fighting man of the Imperium. They are the individual guardsmen is trash. Oh my god, they are such garbage. But you get enough of them stacked together in one spot, they will kill anything that looks their way. But this is really the first Horde army in 40k that we're looking at. These guys, they're extremely cheap. All their units suck at everything. They're sucking at shooting. They suck like at punching things. They're extremely frail compared to a lot of other people. And they are essentially playing World War I, World War II, or modern day tactics in 40k. Because the Imperial Guard rely on a unit called officers. Your officers, so your platoon commanders, your commissars, your company commanders, your whatever the fuck. You have units have the officer ability. Your officers can scream at units within 6 or increase that range if you have radios. They can scream at units to do stuff. So like, I have a tank commander. And I want to bring down a Carnifex. So those big bugs, that really big bug from Space Marine 2. That officer will yell at his tank, like his fellow tank, take aim! So that tank will have its ballistic skill buffed by 1 until the end of the turn. Or, I want my guardsmen to hold an objective and make sure that my opponent can't get it. Like, they can't just, like, walk on and take it from my guardsmen. Duty and honor, the officer yells at their troops. You improve the leadership and objective control of that unit by 1. Now, again, your officers you have to keep your officers alive because they give you all these buffs. So it's very much a game of protect the castle. Keep your officers alive, and your army will do better. Now, your army can do stuff without their officers, but it becomes much harder to do. Because again, your average guardsman unit is pretty trash. This is your average guardsman squad. These stats are awful. But it makes sense. They're a swarm army, and they're gonna die. This is an army where you have to learn that casualties are a part of life in 40k. You are not the Custodes. You are not Space Marines. You are relying solely on weight of fire and dice rolls. You want to drown the enemy in not only bodies, but firepower. Thank you, Clay. Have you gone over 1,000 Suns yet? Chaos is the last in the line. Don't worry, we'll get to them. But where the Imperial Guard's main infantry is god-awful compared to a lot of other armies, and you have to rely on a lot of them being on the table, Imperial Guard have some of the best fucking tanks. Allow me to show you the bare minimum of testing if a weapon is good or not. Can it kill a Lehman Russ? The Lehman Russ is the bog standard tank in 40k. Look at these stats. Look at these stats. But it's one of the best tanks in the game. It's got good shooting. It's got good guns. It's got a good armor. It's got a good ability. It's a good tank. And there's not much more than you need it to do except for point and shoot at things. And of course, the really cool thing about Guard is that you can flavor them however you want. You can make them a tank regiment. You can make them an infantry regiment. You can make them an armored infantry regiment. You can even have planes. Planes are a little bit complicated though in 40k, and sadly you can only bring like a max of like 1, 2, or 3 depending on the size of the game, which sucks. But like, what are you gonna do? I'm trying to find the planes. I'm sorry. I'm trying to find the planes. Where's the Valkyrie? Where's the Valkyrie? Son of a bitch. I hate that this is not organized. You can bring air troops. You can bring in air units. Lehman Russ Exterminators are amazing. Only Baneblade, let's go! Yep, you also get sole access to super tanks like the Baneblade. Or one of its many variants like the Bane Hammer, or the Bane Sword, or the Doom Hammer, the Hell Hammer, the Shadow Sword. Shadow Sword's really fun. It's such a stupid fucking gun, but it's so fun. But yeah, Guardsmen, if you want to play an army that is basically just like fighting men, like regular fighting people of the Imperium, you're fine with taking casualties. You're fine accepting losses. They are your army. God damn. Yeah, no, these tanks, they're expensive, but they hurt. They're also usually the first tank to go because people know that they have to die. Alright, after that, I don't know Imperial agents. I'm sorry for those that want to know, but I don't know them yet. There's something I have to look into. Imperial Knights. Someone asked earlier if we can play Titans in this game. Yes, we can. Now, granted, it's not like the Warhounds, the Emperators, all that kind of stuff. Knights are their own thing entirely. But they are the closest that you get to playing Titan armies in 40k. You will not... The max amount of Titans you will... Like, the max amount of Knights you will see on a table is 20. We know this because they have a small little knight, which is the size of a dreadnought, called an armorger. Not yay big. Every other knight is a monster. They are giants. And they hit really, really fucking hard. Yes, they may not have board control at all, but they are packing more than enough firepower to wipe units out. Your army ability right now, until you get your book, is Code Chivalric. If your army is Imperial Knights, at the end of the read mission objective step, you must select an oath. So when you and your opponent are deciding on a mission, after the mission is decided on, you choose an oath. At the start of your command phase, your selected oath, if at the start of any of your command phases, your oath is complete, your army becomes honored, and you instantly gain 3 command points. Command points are a resource in the game that you can use. You have Lay Low the Tyrant and Reclaim the Realm. Lay Low the Tyrant is each time this model is selected to shoot or fight, you can reroll 1 hit roll, and you can reroll 1 wound roll. So basically, out of your, 5 attacks, you could reroll 1 of those dice. Are there more stratagems for the Blood Angels other than the ones on the data sheets? Yeah, they have them in their codex. The deed is completed if the enemy warlord is killed. So, the enemy leader is dead. Reclaim the Realm. Add 1 to the move and add 1 to the advance. This deed is completed if you are in control of 1 or more objective markers than your opponent is. Basically, your entire army, you'll either be running 2 or 1 knight and tons of these small little guys called armorers, or you'll be running a small army of around 3 to 5 of these bigger guys. Look at these stats. You are stacked. And you hit hard. You are king of the fucking table. Or queen. Or ruler. But, as I said, you are a super heavy walker. You are a big boy. You are a big lad. And there's a new rule with 10th edition. If you are a super heavy, if you have Titanic in your name, it doesn't matter where you are on the board. Doesn't matter if you're hiding behind a building. Doesn't matter if you're hiding behind trees. Everyone can see you. You are massive. There is no hiding for knights in 10th edition. So there is no just trying to hide behind buildings from place to place. Your goal is to close the gap as fast as possible, because an army is good if it can kill a knight or two in a turn. Who can the knight be played with? I mean, another army. Knights can be brought in with any loyal Imperial faction. So, we actually have a thing. Free Blade. If every model in your army has the Imperium keyword, you can include either one Titanic Imperial Knight or 3 Armiger models. Not one, not both, one or the other. And they cannot be your warlord. And they cannot be given enhancements. So basically, you bring the big guy to help bring in like more firepower for your army, but that's it. They can't do anything else for you. But much like a D&D, you get classes of knights. You get the paladin, who's like very much like the all-rounder of the knights. The knight errant, which is very much the anti-tank knight because they have a giant melta cannon. Knight gallant, this is your close-range berserking knight. Knight warden, this is your anti-infantry knight. And Knight Crusader, your ranged specialist. Just want to drop by and thank you for all the amazing messages of inclusion. I owe you a beer. Oh, thank you. I'll take a Coke, though. Beer and me do not agree. I'm sorry. But thank you. But then you also get the Knight Castellan and the Knight Valiant. These two are the biggest knights that you can field that are not Forge World. They hit hard. They are super fucking tanky, but their one weakness is that they suck in melee because they don't have any melee weapons. So yeah. But yeah, so that's knights. Your army is the smallest in the game, but that's because you're fucking titans. Of course you're going to be the smallest army in the game. Like, your point costs, oh my god. Sorry, I'm trying to find them. I passed. Like, the Knight Gallant is your cheapest knight. And that's out of the big ones. And you won't believe this Chaos Knights go with the other guys. Yeah. But yeah, like, if you do play knights, please expect to hear groans. A lot of people don't like fighting knights. They're seen as like a very brain-dead army to bring. But like, hey, if you like your giant robots, you like playing giant robots, and you don't want to deal with like 600 models on the table, more power to you. I fully get it. All right. The aliens of 40K. Oh boy. Don't you love aliens, guys? Don't you love aliens? Used to have the old epic 40K Space Marine Titans, were so cool. First, we'll start with the Aldari. Man, I really wish these guys had a focus. They're supposed to be glass cannons, but like, holy fuck. Can you mix armies? Little bit? It depends on who you... It depends on which armies you're playing. How do you get into it? Well, you pick an army, and you buy models for that army, including a book. So, Eldar are the elves of 40K. They are the high elves. And they have what I consider to be a much far superior version to the Sisters of Battle's Act of Faith ability. Eldar gets Strands of Fate. At the start of the battle, make a Strands of Fate roll by rolling 6d6. Those are permanent. They are inside your Strands of Fate pool. And they can be used just like the Sisters of Battle one. However, nope, you can use on damage. My bad. Let's become a VOD. I will make it a VOD, don't worry. And it is on my YouTube, so you can always come back to this. So the idea is that their ability is the same. And it did get nerfed. This used to be 9 to a max of 12. Now it's up to a max of like 8, I think. Which is much better. But Eldar have abilities where they can add into this pool at any time. But basically, yeah. So like the Sisters, you can use those pre-rolled dice to replace other dice in the game. So like, oh no, my really good melee combat unit didn't make it into melee. Oh, I wonder what happens if I just replace this 3 with a 5. I made it. Fuck you. That kind of thing. Eldar also get the unique ability to have Harlequins and Ynnari inside their army. Including Drukhari. So Dark Eldar. You can include Dark Eldar, Harlequins, or Ynnari in your faction. Or you can just play straight up Ynnari. Eldar are one of those strange armies where they look like glass cannons, but much like Marines, they can do anything you want them to. They can be melee, they can be tanky, they can be fast, they can hit hard, they can be entirely psychic army. Like, it is very hard to describe this army to newcomers. It is one of the most complicated armies out there. Like, you have to know your 40k to understand what makes these guys good. And this is like the top performing army consistently in 40k. And their battle line unit, which is the Guardian unit, is very, what's the word I'm looking for here? They don't look that impressive. And it's very misleading. Because, like, this is what you'd expect from elves. They're fast. They hit hard. They do hit hard. But what else? Well, how would you like tanks that just absolutely fuckle everything they look at? You can do a max of 12 damage with 2 shots. And you can reroll 1 wound roll. You can reroll a wound roll with this thing. Or how about more anti-tank? How about how about a really good support unit on a bike that can change fate dice to a straight up 6? And you can make friendly Eldari until your next command phase reroll hit rolls. Or subtract 1 from the wound rolls on enemy units when they're shooting at you. How would you like a very heavily specialized anti-go fuck yourself unit? Or how about you forego lightweight units and just, I don't know, where are they? Where are they? I know you're around here somewhere, motherfucker. Where are you? Or how about, fuck you. I'm bringing Custodes. I'm bringing even better Custodes. I can shoot too. I can bring better shooting Custodes. Or, how about I bring a knight? I have my own knight. Fuck you. I want to mock Space Marines. Here's my Dreadnought. The hate in your voice. They are frustrating. They're not as busted as they once were. They hit hard, but they're missing 4 wounds on a knight. And they aren't packing the same kind of firepower a knight is. But yeah, like, it is very hard to counter Eldar. Because they have an answer for everything. How are they even close to Custodes? Oh, Wraithguard? Well, for one, I'm tougher than you. I have a 4-up save. And I hit just a little harder than you. Also, I fight on death. You don't do that. So when one of these guys is reduced to 0 wounds, you roll a d6 on a 4-up, they get to attack. So, like, doesn't matter if you're going first, these guys are probably going to get a swing at you before they die. But, like I said, this is a very hard army to learn. Because, like I said, there's a lot here. And you have to learn how to synergize this army to work together. Because newer players will just look at this and go, what the fuck am I looking at? Like, how do all these guys help each other? Like, how do all these guys help each other? What was the Forge World version of the Wraith Knight? I don't remember. But once you do see the code, you are unstoppable. It's very hard to stop a good Eldar army. Okay, off this fucking rage-inducing shit. Drukhari. Now, where I said the Eldar are complicated, if you are new to 40k, stay away from the Drukhari. If you are new to 40k and don't want to challenge yourself, you just want a simple army to play, do not play Drukhari. This army requires a lot of forethought in thinking. Because where the Eldar are glass cannons, Drukhari are the glass cannons of 40k. Their units, your best save. Where is your Void Raven? This is your best save. 4+. Yeah, that's right. Where the Imperial Guard get tanks with a 2-up save, and Marines like worst save is a 4-up. You have the worst save in a Space Marine army. And the best save that you have is on your character. And if you roll a 1 time, even re-rolling it, you lose the 2-up invulnerable save. Your army is not good for War of Attrition. You do not want to be playing War of Attrition with your opponent. But your army ability is Power from Pain. If your army faction is Drukhari, you gain pain tokens as follows. At the start of the game, depending on the size of the game, you get this many pain tokens. And each time an enemy is destroyed, you gain 1 pain token. Each time an enemy unit fails a leadership check, you gain 1 pain token. So basically, you scare people. The more you kill and the more you successfully scare people, the more tokens you get. And then you can expend those tokens during your turn to either allow for reroll advance or charge rolls, or reroll hit rolls and improve armor penetration. And you're one of the unique circumstances where you got 2 detachments instead of 1. Basically, you can either choose right now between trying to synergize your force by adding in all the different kinds of Dark Eldar together for additional pain tokens, or you play to the strategy of Dark Eldar where you hop in and out of transports all the time to give your units ignores cover. So if you're firing at somebody in cover, they don't get the bonus. And Lance, which means like it's easier to hurt somebody in close combat. Now, Drukhari are strange. And it's why I say they're extremely complicated. Because you don't have one army, you have 3 armies here. You have 3 different sets of baseline troops and elites that all want to be working together. You got Cabalites, which are your main ranged infantry. Where are the witch cults? Where are the witch cults? Where are the witch cults? Witches, which are your main melee infantry. And then you got Racks, which are your main mid to close range unit. You have your Cabals, your witch cults, and your covens, like your homunculi covens. Figuring out how to make all these different groups that do different things work together is part of the Drukhari playstyle. You are not an army that wants to be out on the field longer than you have to. You want to win games as fast as possible. You are speed running when playing Drukhari. If you are still on the table by turn 5, you are not winning the game. You want to be hitting the enemy as fast and as hard as possible, and your main best friend is going to be your raiders. If I can find the fucking raiders. I'm sorry I didn't have all these prepared. It's a Ravager. Raider. Yes, you are pirates. You get pirate ships. But all your pirate ships are open topped. So if units are riding in them, you can fire out from the transport. And these transports are fairly fucking good. They can get units in and out as fast as possible. And they're fairly decent. Of course, you can always bring in Ravagers. Ravagers are also good. They do not care for terrain. That's the best part about your army, is that the only thing walking is your infantry. All your vehicles have fly. So they ignore everything when moving. Unless it's like height on buildings. They have to actually like measure up and go over. But yeah, for newcomers, stay far fucking away from Drukhari. Unless you are fine with trying to figure out how to make 3 different armies work together. There are ways to do it, but if you're new and don't understand the rules, do not make Drukhari your first army. Make them your second army when you understand the game better. But if you want to challenge yourself, more power to you. Gene Stealer Cults is another army that has gotten their book. And they are a very fun sabotage and infiltration army. Their entire shtick is that they are playing a war of attrition with you. The one thing as a Gene Stealer cult, you want to be playing the game as long as possible. You want the game to go on as long as possible. They are also very difficult. Yes. But here's the thing. You are playing an army that loves to ambush, and they are all shit. These are regular people or monsters without armor trying to ambush people. These are like miners and people from normal society, all corrupted by the hive mind, along with their mutated brothers and sisters, trying to take over a planet. Your entire gimmick is cult ambush. When when your units die. Alright, so like when your unit is completely wiped out, there's no one left in it. You roll a d6, adding 1 if it's the first or second battle round. So if it's for the first, second battle round, on a roll of 4+, you get that unit back at full strength. And they pop up like another unit was in weight. After turns 1 and 2, it's a 5-up. But basically, essentially, you get a ambush token. You can put that token anywhere on the field, and then that unit pops up from that position, following like Deep Strike rules. Now, something to note as well, if you're playing for points, each time a unit comes back, they are worth more points. So, if your opponent kills 1 unit, and that unit comes back, they can score another point by killing that unit again. So just keep that in mind. Your army also heavily relies on characters to keep your units consistent and in the game. Because, well, your units suck. You are just guardsmen. You are just guardsmen. But you're guardsmen with mining tools. So you're a little bit better in melee than the average guardsman. Not just your average troops. And you can swarm the field with these guys. But something that is very interesting about Gene Stealer cults, not only do they get Gene Stealers, which are pretty scary melee unit in and of themselves, but remember how I said that certain armies can ally with each other? Well, Gene Stealer cults can team up with Imperial Guard. So they're called Brood Brothers. Yes, they can't benefit from any of the Gene Stealer cult's abilities, but you can have Lehman Russes. You can make up for your lack of vehicles. You can put more infantry on the board. Infantry with better guns and better weapons than your regular Gene Stealer cults. You can do that. You get the sole privilege of doing that. So not only can you take Gene Stealers in one army, you can have a fucking Imperial Guard tank squadron in the other. It's also currently only in one detachment in 10th. Yeah, it's depressing, but you can do it. Brood Brother Auxilia. So you can bring up to a certain amount of points, but you cannot include Aircraft, Commissar, Epic Hero, Militarum Tempestus, Orgrin, Rattling, Tech Priest, Engine Seer, or Ministorm Priest. But you can bring Imperial Guard. And it's fun as fuck. You are the only army that gets to do this. So, have fun. Leagues of Votann. These are your dwarves. The dwarves of 40k. And they're angry little fuckers. They also do not have a book. They are still index. Their ability, as I said before, is grudge tokens. Anytime a unit of yours is killed, the unit that killed your unit gets a grudge token. And that unit goes on to kill another unit, they get another grudge token. They can only have 2. And you have characters that can point and hand out grudge tokens. The more grudge tokens that a unit has, the easier it is for your units to kill them. This is a game of fucking payback. And yeah, your average troops are just as average as a Skitarii. But you get a lot to do with them. You get weapons that can ignore cover. You can have comms array, which can refund you command points. You can have a 6-up feel no pain. Your sergeant can have a 4-up invulnerable save. You got your own version of Terminators. You got your own version of fucking Berserkers. You got all your vehicles are transports right now. All of them. All of them are transports. So your dwarves can be highly mobile. Sadly, there's not a lot else going on for them. And that's because they were introduced in 2022. They were the most broken codex when they came out. And it hurts. But they are an extremely fun army to learn. You will have to accept casualties because that's how you proc off your abilities. But Leagues of Votann are getting better. What paint should I go for my Astra Militarum? I don't know. What do you want? What's your favorite color? Chthonian Berserkers. Is that in any way reference to a planet Horus was found on? Yes, it is a reference. Necrons. Necrons are also a good beginner army. The reason being is their army ability. If you have a hard time accepting casualties, the Necron's reanimation protocol is for you. So, if your army faction is Necrons at the end of your command phase, each unit from your army with this ability that is on the battlefield activates a reanimation protocol and reanimates D3 wounds each time such a unit reanimates a wound. If that unit contains one or more models with fewer than their starting number of wounds remaining, select one of those models. That model regains one lost wound. If all models in the unit have their starting number of wounds, but that unit is not at starting strength, one destroyed model is returned. So basically, you roll a D3, you either restore that many wounds, or you restore that many models. How would you rate the system of battle in terms of difficulty to play? Medium. You have to be extremely aggressive with them. They're a middle ground of the Imperial Guard and the Space Marines. More zombie army. Yeah. Of course, your army also has their own book. And your average unit will look like this. What kind of glass cannon I take? What kind of glass cannon I take? If you want to be extremely aggressive with flamethrowers and melta guns, go right ahead. Figure out how to get your girls up to the front line as fast as possible. And your army ability basically lets you replace dice rolls. This is your average unit. You are just as tough as a Marine. You're not having the same armor save, but your reanimation protocol makes up for it. But here's the thing about Necrons. Each unit is highly specialized. So, Necron warriors, they just want to be fighting infantry. They want to be going toe-to-toe with infantry. Like other battle line units. Immortals? A little bit better, a little bit better. They want to be going toe-to-toe with, like, Marines and shit. They want to be fighting, like, shooting at Marines. But then you get, like, Tomb Blades, Tesseract Vault, Obsidian Destroyers, Scorpec Destroyers. Then you get stuff like the Scorpec Destroyer, which is basically, we want to be hunting down infantry and elite infantry. That's what we want to be hunting down. We want to be stabbing those people. Because they're pretty fucking scary. I'm nervous. You got this, Mitchell. You got this, Michael. Don't worry. So when you're playing Necrons, your army is highly specialized. Units only want to be going after units that they want to be hunting. If you're trying to put a Necron unit that's not good at fighting other things against the unit they're not good at fighting at, they're going to suffer. They can hold their own, but they're going to suffer. Plus, Necrons also want to rely on buffing each other. Where I said, like, Mechanicus is the Necromancer army, these guys are the Necromancer army. All their characters want to be buffing all the rest of their army. They want to be helping. But they don't want to be in combat. Unless they're also a Scorpec Lord. Orcs! Orcs. Orcs, 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 orcs. You want to play an army where you don't give a shit, where you just want to throw as many bodies onto the table as possible and scream, "Wah!" all day long? Orcs are your fucking army. Orcs get the ability, Wah! Once per battle, the start of the battle round, you can call Wah. If you do until the start of your next battle round, the Wah is active for your army, and units from your army with this ability are eligible to declare a charge in a turn in which they advanced. Add 1 to the strength and attack characteristics of melee weapons. So in melee combat, you get 1 to your strength and 1 to your attack. Models from your army have a 5+ invulnerable save. So for one turn, this is the turn where you decide the game. This is a turn in which all of your orcs are in the perfect position. And this will decide a game. Either all your orcs make it, and you crush the enemy in one massive green tide, or it fizzles, and you've wasted your turn. Ah, yes, the fuck it, we ball army. Your orcs. Orcs are the epitome. They are the absolute example of quantity over quality. They are shit. They're tough, but their armor is garbage. Their attacks are garbage. And it's just like, here, where's their dedicated unit? Where's their battle line? Whoo-wee! Yep. 5 toughness. They're tougher than a Marine. But good luck saving. And ooh boy, that shooting leaves a lot to be desired. But orcs want to be in melee. They want to crush the skulls of their enemies. They need to get into melee combat as fast as possible. Now, you can play shooting orcs, and they can be very fun and very successful. Because, remember, I don't need to be accurate to hit you. I just need to put enough bullets down range. Your regular shooter gets 2 shots flat and gets an additional 1 at half range. So if you're running a unit of 20 and you're running a shooter and you're at 9 inches, that's 60 shots. That's 60 shots going down range. I mean, yeah, sure, you hit on 5s, but, like, something's gonna hit and something's gonna die. But if you're playing to the orc's strength, which is melee, you get tons of more attacks. Tons of attacks. And they hit hard. There are ways to combo your orcs to make them hit so fucking hard and do so much damage. Your war bosses, all your boys, like all of them, make melee combat or getting into melee combat easier. You want to be closing those gaps. And remember, the wah is not something that you pop off at the start of your turn. This is, you are positioning your orcs to get ready for the wah. And then once the wah is ready, once you know that all your guys are in position, then you call wah. You advance, you charge, you crush the enemy with just waves of attacks. Now, are boys going to be killing as much stuff as they used to? No. Boys will practically kill most infantry units in the game. They will struggle against tanks and monsters. But that's why you have other stuff to do that. And that's the orcs. Extremely brain-dead simple. They just want to be getting into melee combat. There are more complicated builds you can do for them, and they can succeed at that. Shooting orc armies are surprisingly effective. Don't count them out. But their comfort zone is melee. They want to be in melee. They want to get stuck in. And building your army to effectively get them into melee combat as fast as possible is the goal. Hi, Eternal. But yeah, sum it up. Fuck it, we ball. Tau Empire. Where the orcs are an army that want to get stuck in, Tau is an army that wants to stay as far fucking away from melee as possible. Their units suck in melee. And that's not a bad thing, because their whole shtick... Why are Tau players so hated? They just have a lot of better shooting. And a lot of people really don't like marching up most of the board to try and kill them. Tau are very mech range focused, aren't they? Yes, they are. Your army ability when choosing the Tau Empire is for the greater good. So, your army, all your units have spotting. So, you have 2 units. One unit looks at your opponent's unit and says, over there, and pings them with a laser pointer. That unit now has to fire directly at the unit they pinged, but any other unit firing at that unit that's pinged gets to ignores cover, improve their ballistic skill by 1. That's what your army does. The Tau Empire want to be working together. You have spotters and you don't have spotters. You designate units during your turn that you want to spot for other units. Usually, because the unit that's spotting does not get ignores cover. They just get the +1 to hit. But the other units that this unit is spotting for, they give ignores cover. So it's very much you want to be working together, synergizing your units. And again, your entire army is built around shooting and being mobile. You do not want to be holding still as Tau Empire. You want to be constantly on the move. You are not Guard. You are not Imperial Guard, where they want to hold still and do firing lines. You can move around. You have mobility with your shooting. If the enemy's getting close, you back the fuck off as fast as possible. Do not play the enemy's game. You are making them play your game. And again, yeah, you kind of got hit a little bit with losing AP to your guns, but Strength 5 is nothing to sneeze at, and 2 attacks per shot at Strength 5, that's pretty fucking good. Like, don't sneeze at them, especially when it comes to their breacher teams. Breacher teams are units that want to get closer. They want to be really close to the enemy, like 10 inches close. But like, yeah, that's spooky. Those are spooky. That's spooky stats for infantry. Anybody looking at that? That's spooky. But you are one of the few armies that gets really good mobile mech suits. You have crisis suits. And right now, Tau Empire have sadly been nerfed that you have to build your suits in very specific ways. Back then, you could customize them as much as you wanted. So, like, you could have, like, 2 melta-guns and a minigun. Now it's straight up, they only have these guns. You can't mix and match anymore. But they are, like, specialized. And they do basically say, like, oh, if you have the Sunforge unit here, they're an anti-tank unit. So they want to be hunting monsters and vehicles. But that's the Tau. You are a ranged army. You are mobile ranged. You do not want to be holding still. Unless you have, like, broadsides. Broadsides want to be holding still. Because, like, holy shit. They're spooky. This is one of the very few units in your army that do not want to be moving around. They want to just be holding still, looking for tanks, and then firing. But yeah, that's the Tau Empire. Extremely simple. Just stay the fuck away from melee. Unless you brought Kroot. Kroot are your, Kroot are your meat shields. They are absolutely garbage. They are meat shields at the end of the day. But they're meat shields with a purpose. So, if you're bringing them, they're covering for the rest of your army. Yo, love your vids. Used to main Ultramarines 2 back when I played. Alright. Last for the Xenos. Tyranids. The Tyranids also have their book out right now. They were one of the first to get their book. They have 2 army abilities. One that strictly affects their units, and one that strictly affects the enemies. They have Synapse Web. The Synapse Web is essentially, it makes their Tyranids braver, and it makes them stronger. So you want to keep all your brain bugs around your stupid bugs. You want the brain bugs to be leading the stupid bugs. Because having brain bugs around makes your dumber bugs stronger and braver. But, as well, you have shadows in the warp. During your command phase, one or more units from your army with this ability are on the battlefield. So, like Hive Tyrants, Swarm Lords, you can unleash a shadow in the warp. When you do, each enemy unit on the battlefield must take a leadership check. Each time an enemy unit takes a battle shock test, if it is within 6 of a synapse creature, subtract 1. Basically, you can force your opponent multiple times, sometimes if you brought the proper units, to force them to be scared. Because you are unleashing a wave of psychic energy that is making people scared. That makes people fear you. And if a unit is battle shocked, they do not benefit from any stratagems. They lose all cohesion. And they cannot hold objectives because they're scared. So, Tyranids are very much an army that want to be in control of the board. They're a swarm-based army that is a little tricky to learn, but they want to be in control of the board and the game state as much as possible. And thanks to Space Marine 2, you got to see these things in action. Hormagaunts, they are your swarm basic infantry. They suck. They're tiny little gnats. But 20 models, they can pretty much hold a unit down for a while if they didn't get shot to death. Termagants, basically Imperial Guard. They're shittier Imperial Guard, but hey, 20 models. Firing all this. They're pretty spooky. They can be pretty spooky. But you're not playing bugs for the small boys. You're playing them for the big boys. Come on, you get monsters. And monsters, come on. You can do a mix. You can do swarms and big guys. You could just do big guys or just do swarms. Your entire army is dependent on what you want to do. Just make sure you bring brain bugs to keep this army together. Would you say there's a big emphasis on protecting the brainy bugs, or is it just try and dominate the board as fast as possible? Yes, you do want to be protecting your brain bugs. You do. Because your brain bugs, don't forget, they make your stupider bugs braver and stronger. There is incentive to keeping your big bugs alive. Some big bugs, they're really big, like Hive Tyrants. These guys, they're your leaders. It's that big one from fucking the one mission in Space Marine 2. That's this. And you can give them wings. Winged Hive Tyrant. But what if you don't want a big boy? Well, you got other versions. You got other boys. You got smaller brain bugs. You got big brain bugs. All depends on you. Also, could you get cool infiltrating monsters? Yes. Oh, God, yes. Where is it? Where is this thing? Trigons. Do you want to dig under the enemy? Do you want to dig under the enemy? You want to pop up beneath them? Subterranean Assault. Each time this model is set up on the battlefield using the Deep Strike ability, it can be set up anywhere on the battlefield that has more than 3 inches horizontally away from all enemy units. When doing so, this model is set up within 9 of 1 or more enemy units. Until the end of the turn, it is not eligible to declare a charge. Basically, you just dug up from the ground and disrupted the entire group. And it's a pretty mean bug. It's a pretty mean bug. Pretty mean. And yes, there is the Swarm Lord. This is like the chapter master or the Primarch of the Tyranids. Hits hard, plays hard, absolute fucking beast of a Tyranid. But, oh boy. My ass hurt. Almost done, teacher. Almost done, teach. Almost done this college class. Oh boy. Whew. Old One Eye is still a thing? Yep. It's just a Carnifex. The Forces of Chaos. Yeah, I'm okay. Don't worry. We're almost done. We're literally at the last 6 armies, and I can sum these 4 up really easy. Do not stress yourselves. Chaos Demons. Much like Dark Eldar, I do not recommend these guys as your first army. I do not. Because where Drukhari were 3 armies trying to work together, Chaos Demons are 4 armies trying to work together, and they can be complicated. They're also a swarm army. And again, they want to play the board state. They want to be in control of the board. Because of Shadows of Chaos. The more objectives you control, the more the Shadow of Chaos spreads. If you control more objectives in No Man's Land, or at least half of them, half the board is yours. If you control the objective marker in your opponent's deployment zone, the whole board is covered. While a Legion Demonica unit from your army is within the Shadow, each time that unit takes a Battle Shock test, add 1 to the test. If that test is passed, you regain models or wounds. You are healing from this. While an enemy unit is within 6 inches of one of your greater demons, as well, you take D3 mortal wounds if you fail a test. So, like, you got a Bloodthirster going down on a unit of Space Marines. They have to do a morale check. They fail. They take D3 mortal wounds, which is wounds you can't stop. Warp Rifts, which is your units, which is your army special ability right now for detachment. If your shadow, wherever your Shadow of the Warp is, you can bring in demons from Deep Strike there, and instead of following normal Deep Strike rules, you follow your own. Where are you reading this from? Warhammer Community Downloads. So you go to warhammercommunity.com, go to their downloads page. It has downloads for all their games. This is the 40K one. All of this is free. So the reason why I say newcomers stay away from this army, if you don't want to deal with it, is because your monsters are your toughest thing, but you are running swarm armies with no saves. Your units will die. They are trash. They do specific things as well. Demons of Tzeentch want to be as far fucking away from combat as possible. They want to be shooting, casting spells. Khorne, God of War, they want to be hitting as hard as possible. They want to get into melee as fast as possible and hit as hard as possible. They cannot play a war of attrition, though. They really can't. They hit hard, but if they're stuck in combat, they're going to lose. They want to win combat as fast as possible. Nurgle. They want the game to go on as fast as possible, but they just want to be hopping on objectives and being annoying. They just want to sit there and do nothing. So you get your Nurgle guys onto objectives and sit your ass there. That's what Nurgle wants to be doing. They just want to be annoying and sit there. Slaanesh, they do not like straight up fights. They want to be flanking, they want to be getting behind people, and they want to be charging in. Like Khorne, they want to be hitting as hard as fast as possible. And that's their whole thing. Each demon does something different. You can bring pure of one faction, but you are doing yourself a disservice by doing that. The whole point of Chaos is to bring in as many demons of many different builds as possible. Yeah, no, you have to rely solely on your invulnerable save. You are relying on 5s. Unless you're within... You're relying solely on 5s. But again, you want to be in control of the board. You are swarming forward. You want to be constantly on the move with everybody. So, like, Corrin and Slanesh want to be getting up the board as fast as possible. Tzeentch wants to be staying in the middle of the board. And Nurgle just wants to stay wherever he is. You get Nurgle units up to the objectives, they sit down. That's what you want to be doing with demons. It is basically trying to either build 1, 2, 3, or 4 different armies together, or building pure, if you know what you're doing, which most newcomers do not know what they're doing, and essentially trying to make these armies work together. You also have unaligned demons. Be'lakor is your Primarch. He's like your ultimate character. But if you have unaligned demons like the Soul Grinder, they have to choose an alignment. If you have a Demon Prince, they have to choose an alignment. They can't just be like, oh, I'm undivided. No, they have to be a Demon Prince of one of the gods. Only Be'lakor can be the Demon Prince undivided until Primarchs come in. Okay, but that's demons. Chaos Knights. You're knights, but you're chaos. You're really spooky. You're basically loyalist knights just with chaos skin. Moving on. Chaos Space Marines. I own this book. Oh god. Water. Chaos Space Marines are a mix. They play like Marines, but they have a slight lean towards melee combat. But the best way I ever heard Chaos Space Marines described, they are a mix of Marines and Orcs. They can bring the elite infantry of Marines, but they have a tendency to swarm like Orcs do. Their ability is Dark Pax. So, you roll a leadership check before you attack. If you pass the leadership check, or even if you fail, you get to choose either lethal hits or sustained hits. We've talked about this before. Lethal is hit rolls of 6s, are an automatic wound, regardless. Sustained hits are additional hits. If you fail the leadership check, yes, you still get one of these two, but you take D3 mortal wounds on the squad. You are praying to the gods for power, and if you fail, you take damage. And the best part about Chaos Space Marines is that they can bring in one of the other 4 Legion special units. Your average unit, your battle line, is the Legionnaire. They are just Marines, but they're Marines with a lot more customization options. They have more flexibility than regular Marines, with a slight leaning towards melee combat. Everything in your army has preferences towards melee combat, or they go hard into range. That is what Chaos Marines want to be doing. They are extremely flexible, but they have a leaning towards melee. And as well, if you do bring in, if you do have, my god, my brain. I'm sorry, teacher's fried here. If your army is Heretic Astartes, you can also include one of the following. You can include World Leaders, Thousand Sons, Death Guard, Emperor's Children. So you can bring in Noise Marines, Plague Marines, Rubric Marines, and World Leaders And those guys can also be your battle line troops. But you also get regular people. You get cultists, you get traitor guard, you get beastmen. They're shit, but that's the idea. You either bring in a solid consistency with Chaos Marines, you bring in a mix of swarm and consistency, or you bring entire swarms led by like Dark Apostles and people that can buff them. You make the shittier guys better by saying, by dying for the Dark Gods, you will be rewarded. And those idiots tend to believe it. Could you use Be'lakor in a Chaos Space Marine army? I have their thing, so one sec. I can check. Yes, you can bring Be'lakor. However, Be'lakor only affects Legion Demonica units. So he does not affect Chaos Space Marines. He only affects demons. So unless you're bringing pure demons, don't bring Be'lakor. He does not help your army at all, and the army does not help him. But you can bring him if you want to. Just don't expect him to be doing much outside of hitting really, really hard. Hi, Armies. Death Guard. Death Guard right now do not have their own book. They are still Index. And they are Chaos Marines that focus on mid to close ranged warfare. Because their ability, Aura of Contagion. Over the course of a game, they have an aura ability that grows. As you can see here. Anything within range of the Death Guard gets -1 toughness. Not bad. Not bad at all. Even though they're fucking... It hurts looking at Death Guard right now. They're not the best army, sadly. But, hey... If you like really tough units, really tough Marines, Death Guard are the tough Marines. Their entire shtick is that we want to be playing War of Attrition with people and pushing them. We want to be so fucking disgusting that we're in control of the board and pushing you back. So the closer that the Death Guard get to you, the worse you'll be fighting. Because remember, those aura abilities are overlapping each other. Now, they don't stack, sadly, but taking a hard -1 to your toughness can mean the difference between a 2 or a 3 to wound. Would you say they're alright for beginners? If you're okay at managing aura abilities, like keeping ranges in your head, yeah, I'd say they're okay for beginners. They're extremely tough. They're extremely tough. And if you choose Death Guard, you get a Primarch. Mortarion. So I can build a Chaos Knight / Chaos Marines army with a Chaos version of the Officio Assassinorum and adding Dark Mechanicum. We do not have Dark Mechanicum as a playable faction in 40k. And you can only bring one group of allies. So if you're bringing Knights with Chaos Marines, that's all you can bring. But yeah, like Death Guard, their entire shtick is we are mid to close range. We want to be as close to the enemy as possible and take advantage of our aura effects. Can you play as Storm Giants? Close that you can get as Knights. But yeah, Death Guard, close range, want to be debuffing the enemy as much as possible. Learn it, live it, love it. Thousand Suns, my favorite army in 40k. My lads, my boys. Who boy. We lost out on psychic powers! But the trade-off is fine. The trade-off is fine. Sure, we don't get our own psychic phase anymore. But we have Cabal of Sorcerers. So each sorcerer in your army, each and every one, generates a certain amount of Cabal points. Take a sip of water. These Cabal points can be used on one of 5 abilities. Either allowing you to reroll saves, move again, make a stratagem cost 0 CP, do mortal wounds, or just make your armor penetration better. Thousand Sons are a Psyker army. They're wizards. So, what does that mean? Well, compared to a lot of other armies, we're not bad in melee, but we're getting our asses kicked a lot. Like, we're getting bullied. We're getting shoved in lockers. We're nerds. But we have very good shooting. We have psychic powers. And I want everyone to understand something here. In Warhammer 40k, you can fire all of your guns. All of them. If your unit has multiple guns, they can fire all of them. So, not only can you give your sorcerer a pistol, which can add 1 more dice to your Infernal Bolt pistol, like your Infernal Bolt guns, he can also fire off his Warp Smite at the same time. This gives incredible leeway to all of your Thousand Sons. Your sorcerers, your whether they be your leaders or your squad sergeants, they can fire their psychic powers while shooting. That is incredible, and a lot of your psychic powers are pistols, meaning that if you're stuck in close combat, you can go, "Fuck you, sir," and kill somebody with a psychic power. In melee. We have some of the best fucking Terminators in the game. They have decent melee. And Implacable Guardian, if you put a Sorcerer and Terminator armor with these guys, they subtract 1 from the wound roll. Lots of armies would kill to do that. We also get Zangors, which, don't sleep on these guys. They're actually fairly decent. Like, they got decent melee. Not, like, kind of shocked, honestly. But, yeah, the one downside is that Thousand Sons don't have a lot of unique vehicles to themselves. They really just copy and pasted the Chaos Space Marine vehicle list. But we also get the best Primarch in the game right now. Magnus the Red. Remember what I said, that he can shoot, that you can shoot all of your guns? He can shoot all of his psychic attacks. All of them. So not only can he devastate a monster or a vehicle, he can look at an infantry and go, "Get fucked, idiot." And not only that, he's just amazing. If it's a psychic attack and you're within 6 of them, you get to add 1 to the hit and wound roll. You can make someone gets hot on their gun, so like after they fire, they have to roll a d6 or die on a roll of a 1. You can add 2 to the movement of friendly Thousand Sons units, or subtract 1 from the damage. Yeah. He's kind of busted. And don't forget that you can deep strike this motherfucker. So you can come in as a blazing comet of glory. Magnus the Red may have done everything wrong, but he's so fucking good on the table. Oh boy. Plus, the army has my favorite character of all time in it, Ahriman. And he's been turned into more of an assassin kind of character because of his psychic stock ability. But like, hey, I like him. I think he's cool. I think he's the coolest guy in 40k. And last but not least, and thank God for this, World Eaters. Now, a lot of people would look at these guys and go, oh, they're the brain dead army. They're not as brain dead as you think. You still have to be smart with World Eaters, but not as smart as you have to be with Death Guard and Thousand Suns. Yes, your army is pure melee, but how do you get them up there? Well, your army ability is Blessings of Corn. You roll 8d6, and you choose pairs out of that. Well, you choose, like, groups of them. So, as an example, you roll 8 dice, you roll 1 1, 3 2s, 1 3, 1 4, and 2 6s. You then get to choose from all these, following what it's asking of you, the asking price. Are these the guys that scream blood for the blood god? Yes. You have very little shooting in this army. But, you can add 2 to the move characteristic for a turn. You can give your guys feel no pain. If they already had it, you add 1. You can get sustained hits. You get fight on death. You can get lethal, or you can declare a charge in a turn in which you advanced, which you will be doing a lot with these guys. Because your basic troops, because this is the smallest army in 40k, like unit-wise, like if you thought Leagues of Votann had a limited pool, oh my god, you have not seen these guys. Khorne Berserkers are your standard infantry. And they are considered some of the best melee units in the game. They hit hard, and that's all they're good for. They want to get into melee as fast as possible. Their literal ability is that every time they take damage, they move closer to the guys that did it. And note, this is not once per turn. This is each time it fucking happens. They get shot at, they lose a wound. Fuck those guys in particular. And they run after those guys, getting more movement. This entire army wants to be a tide of blood moving endlessly towards their target. They are a missile. And anything that gets stuck in close combat with them, unless it's orcs, is dying. They are dying to these guys. Because 4 attacks at strength 5, AP 1, most shit's not surviving that. Along with the fact that, like, you'll be having, like, tons of bonuses on these guys. Even Custodes, surprisingly, -1 can be a very annoying thing to deal with in 40k. Because remember, like, 2+ save, that's a 5 out of 6 chance of success. A -1 knocks that 5 out of 6 to a 4 out of 6. Which is terrifying. And enough attacks can drown a unit. And remember, Custodes are only a unit of, like, max 5 guys. Khorne Berserkers at a unit of 10 are doing 40 attacks with probably rerolls and extra strength on top of that. 40 attacks, being able to reroll everything. Yeah, Custodes are not surviving that, or they're not making it out with a lot. And then, like, they won't be able to respond properly back to them. There's 10 of these goobers? Yeah. Units comprised of 5 to 10. One champion, rest are all idiots. And again, they're another Chaos Warband. One of the original legions. They get Angron, who is considered the worst Primarch? Like, just under Gulliman? But, like, the only reason he's the worst Primarch is because he doesn't have shooting. And, like, he dies real fast. Because, like, this guy's killing knights. This guy's killing knights on his own. Like, Imperial Guard players look at... Space Marine players cower in fear of Angron. Imperial Guard players... So what you're telling me is that all I gotta do is keep him busy with 5 squads? Have you covered Death Guard yet? I have. So after this stream, you can recheck this video and go back to check them out. But yeah, Angron's entire thing is he wants to be in melee. He wants to make melee better, and he's going to make your opponent's life a living hell if he gets into close combat. However, he and Gullyman share an ability. Both of them can get back up. But, where Gullyman can only do it once after he dies, Angron can do it as many times as you roll 6s. During any of your turns when this motherfucker is dead, if you roll triple 6s on your Blood Pact roll, well, Blessing of Corn roll, you can spend 3 of those dice at the exchange of one of your Blood Pacts to bring Angron back at full wounds, and then deep strike him. Yeah. This guy does not stay dead for long, which is remarkably terrifying. And no, just because they're the worst of the Primarchs does not make them bad. It just means compared to their brothers do a little bit more than them. But hey, this guy can keep getting back up every time that you roll 3 6s for this. Sure, you're losing out on one of these. But let's put it this way, chat. Let's put it this way. You're getting a knight back at full wounds for nothing. If this makes him one of the weakest Primarchs, holy fuck, what is weak? Can you play the other Traitor Legions together? Yes. Specifically, only Chaos Marines can take from the other Legions. If you're playing Thousand Suns can only take from Tzeentch. If you're playing World Eaters can only take from Khorne. If you're playing Death Guard, they can only take from Nurgle. If you're playing Emperor's Children, you can only play, you can only take from Slaanesh. Right, there is one more army. Don't worry, they're extremely small. We know that Emperor's Children will be getting their own books sometime next year, or before the end of 10th edition. If you want to play Emperor's Children, you make a Lucius the Eternal, or you buy the Lucius the Eternal model. He has to be your warlord. No ifs, ands, or buts. He has to be the warlord. You are stuck with Dark Pacts. This is your army ability. Your Demon Prince must be Slaanesh. No ifs, ands, or buts. But if you choose Emperor's Children, you get Noise Marines. They're basically anti-infantry. What about Night Lords? Night Lords are in regular Chaos Space Marines. In fact, they have their own unique ability. Where is it? Dread Talons? Yeah, they, if you want to play Night Lords, like fluffy Night Lords, you play Dread Talons, which is spooky stuff. You're spooky. You're very spooky. You scare people. Bleh. Is it a good call to have Kairos in my Thousand Suns army? Yeah, no, Kairos is great. Like, sure, like, you won't be getting the buffs from, your Chaos Realm ability for demons. But, like, he's still fucking hilarious to bring. Like, the guy is just a massive artillery piece. I'll find him. Kairos Fate Weaver. Remember, this is a psychic power. He can fire both of these off. These are shooting. And he's also a good way for getting more CP. It's just funny. He's just hilarious. And and why I say he's artillery? He has indirect fire. He does not need line of sight to shoot. He's hilarious. But yeah. That is the stream. Those are all the different armies that you can play in Warhammer 40k and the general idea of how they play. Now, do you have to play the ways that these armies prefer? God, no. You do not have to. You can play Space Marines as the most elite army as you want. You can play Khorne Demon. You can play demons as just Khorne and bring nothing but Bloodthirsters or greater demons. Just because an army prefers to play one way does not mean you have to play that way. Yes, it'll be a bit more of an uphill battle for you, but you can do it. So Plague Marines and Khorne Berserkers play good together with debuffs. Sadly, they did army proof the game for that. But if you're playing 2v2 and your friend's playing World Eaters and you're playing Death Guard, it's not a bad idea. Because remember, you can only bring in one ally, and World Eaters can only bring in Khorne Demons and Chaos Knights aligned to Khorne. Thousand Suns can only bring in Demons aligned to Tzeentch and Knights aligned to Tzeentch, etc. How many Knights can you have on the tabletop? Depends on the points. Sometimes you can bring 3, sometimes you can bring 20. Like 20 Armigers or like 5 Big Knights. I didn't want to ask whilst you were going on over Army because it's a topic, but is there any book about chaplains or where... I don't... there's the Grimaldus book for Black Templars. Will you go more in depth on specific factions in the future? You know what? I will dedicate streams to specific factions in the future. If people donate. If you donate and make a specific request. So, we got the Ko-fi link up there. I'm very tired, and I haven't eaten. I want to go make sketty. So, please, if you can, if you're on TikTok, please go subscribe to my YouTube and my Twitch. Please donate if you can. If you want to watch stuff early, there's my Patreon that you can join, which is only $5 a month. You get to watch stuff early by a week. There will be a new review for Space Marine 2 that comes out there before it comes out on YouTube.
Revolting.
Oh, Drew, thank you for the follow. Thank you for the sub. If your friends are interested and want to sit through this while painting, just send them the stream. It's on my YouTube. But until next time, everybody, I will see you all on Saturday. You all have a fantastic night. I'm going to close my eyes for a bit. Good night, everybody.